Okay, before we get into the whole broccoli sprout thing that we're going to dive into here in a minute, let me introduce something to you. Kinder Bueno. You got to get an up close of these. Kinder Bueno. These are incredible. I remember these in Germany. They were hippo, but it's like a Kinder Bueno hippo. And they were delicious. And a couple months ago, I found these in the stores here locally in the U.S. And I was like, oh, can it be? Can it be the hippo in bar form? So you get 2 bars individually wrapped in each package like this. And they've got little partitions you can see, kind of like, I don't know, what is that like? Oh, that caramello, the caramello bars. There's no caramel in these though. But what is in these? These are described as crispy, creamy chocolate bar. It's a crispy wafer with, what kind of filling? With creamy nut filling, probably, yeah, hazelnut, of course. Everything from Germany is hazelnut. But it's got a little like gold cigar wrapper kind of thing. And so, it's so good. It is, you can just unwrap it. And I'm sorry, the charged battery came on. That's why I was like staring at the camera long ways. Oh, it didn't come off smooth. Anyways. So you eat, I gotta hurry because that battery's about to die. But these, you just eat any way you want, but they are the most magical, magical, light, fluffy, pillowy, airy treat that you could ever get in your whole life. They're amazing. I love them. I love them so much. So, yes, enjoy. Yum. Hey everybody, welcome to Simple Hobby Homesteading. Today we are going to talk about broccoli sprouts. Now, we are going to start from start to finish, it made sense in my head. But we're going to start at the beginning, and we're going to go through together each day, and I'm going to check back in with you each day and give you an update on what we're doing, how we're doing it. I'm going to do the overall explanation right here today, but then the next, it'll be about 5 days. We're going to check in each day. I'm going to show you how things are going, and then at the end of the week, I'll put all the videos together and make one main video to go on the page, but I want you guys to see an actual day by day on how we're doing this. So broccoli sprouts, first of all, why? They are incredibly, incredibly nutritious and so easy to do at home. That makes it a double whammy for me as far as good things, because I like something that's really good for me and I like the ease of being able to do it at home so I don't have to go out and buy it. I want to read to you the scientific background of why broccoli sprouts are good for you. And a lot of these words are tough for me to remember, so I'm going to read it. So please forgive me for reading it rather than having it all up in my head. But this comes from refinery21.com. And they break down the basic scientific explanation for why broccoli sprouts are so good for us. Here's the basic scientific explanation according to refinery21.com. Cruciferous plants, which are like your broccoli, your cauliflower, so on and so forth, contain compounds called glucosinolate, yes, that, which convert into isothiocyanates when eaten and chewed. Okay, so you've got the glucosinolate in your cruciferous veggies, we'll call them broccoli, and today we're talking about broccoli, so we'll just call it broccoli. When you eat those, it converts into these isothiocyanates. So all cruciferous veggies contain these glucosinolates, but broccoli sprouts have an insane amount, about 10 to 100 times more than most cruciferous vegetables. Now that's kind of a big gap, 10 to 100 times. It's still a lot more than just eating like a piece of broccoli. So they're saying that these broccoli sprouts, which is just, a sprout is just a really immature version of the broccoli plant. So these broccoli sprouts have an insane amount more of these glucosinolates. And the ones contain, the broccoli sprouts in particular contain one called a sulforaphane. Yeah, sulforaphane, especially potent in broccoli sprouts. There's evidence to suggest that sulforaphane can prevent DNA damage that leads to cancer, and in studies on mice, sulforaphane seems to prevent inflammation that can lead to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Huntington's. So the cancer is a big one for us. The anti-inflammatory processes benefits, I should say, are big for us. And the fiber, these are incredibly fibrous, wonderful. They have a lot of vitamins and minerals that are in a lot bigger quantities than broccoli. And they say to eat about 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of these broccoli sprouts a day. And to get what you get in that in like broccoli or cauliflower, you'd have to eat almost a whole head of broccoli or a whole head of cauliflower to get those vitamins and minerals that are in just that amount, 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of broccoli sprouts. So you look up the benefits yourself as far as, you know, what research you want to do there. But you're going to find the articles, you're going to read one article and you're going to be like, okay, I'm sold. Get me some broccoli sprouts. Get me started here because really they're absolutely phenomenal. Downsides. I would say the only downside to broccoli sprouts, and this is just like any other sprout, there is the risk of E. coli. So they recommend young children, like babies and pregnant women, not eat raw sprouts. And that's been across the board in the medical field and the nutrition field kind of all along, even if you don't grow them yourself, even if you buy them in the store. And so I'm going to show you the ways that we avoid that, the E. coli here when we grow them at the homestead. So what we have found is winter time is especially difficult to grow sprouts because they sprout best and grow best in about 65 to 70 degree temperature. We keep our house really cool in the winter, and so, or we keep most of our house really cool, but the living room we keep nice and toasty warm because we spend most of our time. So I have found that moving the sprouts into the living room has really helped during the winter months, but during the spring, summer, and fall, we had no problem keeping them in the kitchen so that I remember to rinse them more often. And that's where your E. coli comes in, the risk of E. coli. If you don't rinse these sprouts twice a day, the risk of E. coli just skyrockets. So you want to make sure you're rinsing these twice a day, and we'll get into that here in a minute. So first of all, what do you need? You need some sort of jar or plastic container to hold your sprouts. You need some sort of system to invert the jar. This is a really neat, easy. It's got a metal stand with a tray with a lip on it, and I'll put in the description below links to where you can get these things on Amazon if you'd like to get the ones that we have. But shop around and get whatever you want. But you need a jar. You need on the top of the jar, let me see if I have, yes, I have here, a strainer lid. You can see it's got all those little holes in it. Look at that, all those little holes. You can do plastic or metal, totally up to you. But you need some sort of strainer lid on there so that you can rinse them and then dump out the water twice a day. And so that water, when it's inverted, you can see like here, this is how this kind inverts on the stand. So when it's inverted, that water drips out, catches here, and evaporates. Because we don't want those sprouts sitting in water. That's how the E. coli grows. So you also need seeds. You need seeds. I highly recommend these Food to Live seeds. You can get these on Amazon, and I think you can also get them in a lot of health food stores. You can see broccoli seeds are super tiny. They're super tiny. 2 tablespoons of seeds in a jar about this size. This is what, a pint? I think this is a pint jar. So the first thing you're going to do, we're going to go right with the, I'm 8 hours ahead of you right now, so that's just so I can show you what you're doing. You put in a pint jar like this, you put 2 tablespoons of broccoli seeds, and then you put just enough water to cover them. That's about what? 1/2 cup of water right in there, and then you let that sit for 8 to 12 hours. It doesn't matter if it's during the day, it doesn't matter if it's during the night. You just leave it on your counter and sit for 8 to 12 hours. And then you can see they've been soaking. These have been soaking for about 12 hours. And you can see that water's kind of cloudy now. And so we are going to strain off that water after the 8 to 12 hours. These have been sitting. That's why I said I'm actually 12 hours ahead of you. So I'm shaking. You can see I just dumped it upside down. I'm shaking just to get most of that water out. And then right at the start, even though they just came out of water, you're going to give them another nice little rinse. And we like to use distilled water here because we have rainwater that comes out of our taps. And so, because we collect rainwater, and I don't want to introduce any bacteria or anything to my seeds. That's the last thing you want to do. So I highly recommend jugged water or a really clean tap water. You can even boil water and then bring it down to room temperature and then put that in jugs for yourself to make sure that it's free of any kind of bacteria. So we're just giving these seeds a good rinse, and we're going to get the water off just like we did before. And now these are ready to sit. These are ready to start sprouting. And I always shake just a little bit. So these are ready to start sprouting. So what we're going to do is we are going to put it in the stand, and then we're going to put it in a place that's out of direct sunlight but still has good ventilation. We find that darkness works best for our sprouts. It just prevents a lot of problems with them growing, greening up too fast and not getting a good sprout on them. And so we have found that in darkness is best, but with ventilation. So between 65 to 70 degree temperature in this stand. And you can see I got a lot of the water out. Sometimes I'll put a little paper towel right there to catch some of the water and then take that out just to make sure there's not a ton of standing water in this tray. But we put them in the living room now because that's where it's the warmest in our house, and it does stay about 70 degrees in there. And then I just like to put a box with some ventilation holes over top of them just to give them that darkness. And I just have holes in the box for the ventilation, for the airflow to go through. That's very important as well. And we find that is what's working best. And they sprout and are done within about 4 days, 4 or 5 days, and this entire jar will be absolutely full of sprouts. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that under the box in the living room, and I'm going to start another one here, and that's going to be about 12 hours behind this one because I need to let it sit on the counter all day. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of seed in, and actually let's just do that. Let's just do that right now. Let me get a tablespoon. As long as we're here, why not? So we're just going to take my jar. I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of seeds, just like that. 1 and 2. And I think on the package it says 3 tablespoons, but I find that's better for like a bigger quart jar maybe, because I find that 2 tablespoons fills up this jar beautifully. All right, now we need to just put enough water to kind of cover the seeds. It's going to end up being about a quarter, half a cup, right around in there. Look at that, easy peasy. And then I'm just going to put this strainer on top just to make sure no bugs get in there. And I've got the ring for it somewhere. And we're going to let that sit like that in the water for 8 to 12 hours. When I rinse this one tonight, I'll probably go ahead and rinse that one out. Now, what we use when we rinse these twice a day, you're going to rinse them morning and night. If you want to go every 8 hours, that's even better. But I'm lucky if I can do it every 12 hours. So morning and night, I rinse the seeds. And what you do is you just take it like this. Pour water in, enough to cover the seeds, and when they start sprouting, just put about a half a cup of water in there, and then put something on top. Either put one of the lids on top to shake it up real good, or I usually take off that ring and I'll put a plastic lid like this and screw it on, and then shake it up real good, and then dump out all that water. Right? That's how you rinse. Make sure you're shaking it up real good to get all of those sprouts and all the seeds and everything. You're going to see, after just a day or two, you're going to see little sprouts, and you want to get all of those really, really rinsed well. And so that's why you want to shake that jar and then dump the water out and then just invert it back and tuck it back in your little spot until you rinse it that night. So twice a day, always rinse twice a day. And then after the entire jar is full, and when the entire jar is full, your sprouts will be about 1 inch long. When they're about 1 inch long and most of this jar is full, you're going to do one last rinse, and then you're going to rinse it out, excuse me, shake it and rinse it out, and then you're going to invert it but leave it out in the sunniest place that you have in your house, either a windowsill or on a counter somewhere, the sunniest place that you have for all day, morning to night. And then at the end, at night, when it's been sitting out all day, you're going to see those sprouts have greened up beautifully. What you're going to do is you need to rinse it one last time before you bag them up. Now, what I like to do is I like to actually soak the sprouts for about 20 minutes in really, really cold water. So I get a bowl of really cold water, and I dump, and this after about, like I said, it takes about 5 days for them to sprout like this. I get a really cold bowl of cold water, and I dump the sprouts in there, and I let them sit for about 20 minutes, swirling them around a little bit every once in a while. And then I put them in a salad spinner, and I drain them out, put them in the salad spinner, and then I do the salad spinner and centrifuge it, whatever you want to call it, to get all the moisture off. And then I bag these in 1/4 cup increments in Ziploc bags and put them in the fridge. We find that 1/4 cup at a time really works well for us as far as eating these. We eat them just plain. We'll put them on salads. We put them on all sorts of stuff. You don't want to cook sprouts because that takes away that glucosinate Is that how we called it? So you don't want to cook them. You want to eat them raw. And like I said, about a quarter a cup to a half a cup a day is what the doctors recommend, what the specialists or the researchers recommend for the best dietary benefits for yourself. So what do they taste like? They've got almost like a little bit of a peppery taste, but other than that, they taste a lot like alfalfa sprouts, but they've got a little bit of a kick, a little bit of a peppery. It kind of reminds me of arugula lettuce a little bit. It's got a little spicy kick to it, which I actually prefer to alfalfa sprouts or bean sprouts. I like having that little spicy kick. That makes it easier for me just to eat, you know, a baggie of them at a time all on their own. And so, yes, so that's it. And so, like I said, we get about, I want to say about 10 or 12 bags of sprouts out of one jar like this. So we like to cycle them so that we have, usually I start one halfway when this one's halfway done. I don't start it so soon, but we always have 2 jars going. And so it works really well for us because Kevin and I go through a lot of sprouts. We haven't gotten the boys on board with them yet, but we will. We'll work on it. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. And we're going to stop back tomorrow and see another rinsing. You're going to see a rinsing, and we'll see what they're doing, if they've sprouted anything. And I look forward to it. So you guys have a great day. Remember, do what you can with what you have wherever you are. And I'll link to, in the description down below, I'll link to the kit here that's got the stands and the jars and everything. And also I'll link the seeds. They're really good seeds. So you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.